So both the British Army and the American Army had riflemen, but not a lot. It was sort of an elite weapon used for sniping. The natives, on the other hand, were also excellent marksmen, so they were well matched. But of course, the problem was that there was a small number of natives to oppose them, and the American forces kept coming ashore. So eventually, they were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. The next group to arrive on the field was the Grenadier Company of the King's Regiment, or the 8th Foot. And the Grenadiers basically saw the situation, saw the Americans were coming ashore in strength, and being the strongest and elite unit of the regiment, they were the first on the scene to oppose the landing. So the soldiers fight in tightly packed ranks because the musket is an extremely inaccurate weapon. The bullet is a 1-ounce lead ball, and it's somewhat smaller than the barrel, so it loads quickly, but it doesn't fire very accurately. So by firing in a tight group, the effect is like a giant shotgun. So you don't necessarily hit the man you're pointing at, but you might hit the man inside. So that's called volley fire, when they all fire at the same time. Well-trained soldiers could load and fire 3 to 4 times in a minute. So when the King's Regiment hit the landing ground, they moved forward aggressively against the Americans.
Then the British are here, the Canes are going to come and say.
So unfortunately, of course, as the King's Regiment was opposing the landing, the Americans had come ashore from 14 boats in their fleet, which of course were armed with cannon, and that made the Grenadier Company a target as well. So as they advanced on the Americans, the fleet could see what was happening and lend fire support. At that point, the Grenadiers made a push to drive the Americans back to the beach, and the American fleet opened up a bombardment on the Grenadiers. Firing on the Grenadiers caused massive destruction, and although they were the elite unit in the army, they basically broke and ran under the fire of the fleet. So at this point, the British were in retreat. The Americans were coming ashore and establishing themselves on the beach. The American Army was commanded by Brigadier General Zebulon Pike, who was a young officer and thought to be a rising star in the American Army, and he wanted a victory badly.
Bradley, I saw the guy.
So you see troops on the British side in blue jackets. Those are the 19th Light Dragoons, the only cavalry regiment to serve in Canada during the war. And when they fought dismounted, they used their short muskets or carbines as skirmishers. So you can see the American skirmishers are starting to push forward. As enough troops reach the shore, they begin to move out. In skirmish order, both armies had their men fight in pairs, and basically one soldier would have his musket loaded while the other was loading, so that there was always somebody with a weapon ready to fire. The U.S. is starting to push aggressively now.
Ready!
Fell over and died.
They have the drone box.
The American commander is starting to move his artillery up to support his infantry. British artillery has come into action in the battle now. The problem the General-Chief had was that he couldn't bring all his forces to the battlefield at the same time. They took different paths to get to the landing area, and some of them became lost on the way. You'll notice on the British side there's also some soldiers in green uniforms. Those were the Glengarry Light Infantry. Those were soldiers recruited in Canada for the war.
See the Canadians, they're green. The U.S. troops are preparing to move again on the British. And you can see the British have started to fall back.
time went on, more and more American troops started coming ashore from the fleet, and the British were badly outnumbered. General Sheaffe realized that the best he could do is try and hold them up and find a defensive position closer to the fortifications at York. One cannon is so much louder than the others because they used to rate the cannons by the size of the cannonball they fired. The loud one is called a 6-pounder that fired a solid iron 6-pound sphere. The other cannons are 3-pounders. They fired a ball that weighed half as much. The British are falling back again.